of uncertainty. Certainly for a lot of you all, it's not just grades and internships and whatnot there that are changing, and it's hard not knowing what's ahead for us. So anyway, let me just dig into this. So as I mentioned, the Career Center is located across the street from Zellerbach. It's on Bancroft Way or Bancroft Ave to 2440. We're on the 3rd floor. Again, Joe Scullion and myself are the pre-health advisors, and we will meet with anybody, no matter what their major is, that is interested in a health career. So it doesn't matter, what your major is. We will go ahead and meet with you. So next slide. So some of the pre-health advising just in general that we have is that we have 30-minute appointments that are made through Handshake. And if you haven't activated your Handshake account, I suggest you do that because there are many advantages to that, and I'll go over that in a little bit. We have drop-in hours. Currently they're held virtually, but we're going to continue those probably until June for now, and then we'll determine whether we should continue them from then on. But usually during the year, we have drop-in hours at VLSB on Tuesdays from 10 to noon and from 1 to 3. And then at Mulford, we're there every Thursday from 1 to 4. And one of the reasons we have these drop-in hours are because we don't see freshmen in our offices. So if you call me and you want to schedule an appointment or you contact me, both Joe and I will try to accommodate it as much as possible if you're a freshman, but we ask students drop in for the drop-in hours if you're a freshman. As you get ready to apply to a professional school, whether it's medical school, dental school, or a PA program, a nursing program, or public health masters, you want us to look over your application. You've written your statement of purpose, and you've gotten for med school all your activities together, same for dental school. We will schedule 1-hour appointments beginning in April, ending in June, and we will provide written feedback to the students. So it doesn't mean you have to come in to see us. It means you submit all your paperwork, and then we provide you feedback that you can use. If we need some clarity, we look it over, we point out grammatical errors. We want you to be the best applicant you can be, and that's a really important thing for us, that we want you to succeed in whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. Once you've submitted your application, there may be secondaries that come your way, both for dental and medical school and some PA programs. We will review those if you want us to, but we will also provide mock interviews in case you get an interview. We hope you do get interviews if you apply. So we will have those mock interviews. And most of the time, if a student has come to see me on more than one occasion, I would want them to sign up with Joe, because then Joe is somebody new and they'd have to prepare differently because I already know a lot about the person, and vice versa. Throughout the year, we have various workshops that focus on pre-health careers and information sessions. We're hoping that for the fall, we can do some virtual coffee chats where we invite professionals or admissions directors from professional schools outside of medicine. So nursing, PA, physical therapy. We're still working on that, and we'll make that available to students. Next slide.
Thank you, Irma. So we actually had one question on this.
Sure.
Can you answer if alumni have access to these services?
Okay, so alumni have access to in-person services for 1 year after graduation. And then 5 years after graduation, you are eligible to attend any of our workshops or events, career fairs, or anything like that. Most of the time, if you have been out for 2 or 3 years, Joe and I will talk to you on the phone, or we'll walk you through some of the process of applying, or how to strengthen your application. We do make those exceptions. So you feel free to reach out because we try not to turn anybody away. So as I was mentioning, Handshake is the tool the platform by which you register to make an appointment with us. Not for the drop-ins, of course, but for any 30-minute or 1-hour appointments in the future. But it also, the thing about activating your account, you can do a job search through there, internship, externship. We have a lot of events on Handshake available. There's LinkedIn seminar. There's a resume writing workshop or a cover letter writing workshop. And it's always good to just kind of go and scope them out. And you all have to get your resume together. You all want to, make sure that you're signed into LinkedIn and because there are so many advantages to that. And so activating your account is really important. Seeing what's up on Handshake, developing your profile on Handshake, because there are employers that look at that and you never know what could happen. So I really encourage that. You can also sign up for Career Mail, which is we post jobs and internships, and you can sign up for just pre-health one. You can sign up for the business one. You can sign up for however many you want. And you probably don't want your email clogged with all of this, but we do post positions that come across, opportunities that are offered to our students, different workshops, or we have somebody from a school that wants to come and talk to and meet with our students, we'll usually post it there first and in Handshake. So, any questions on this slide?
We're good.
Okay, so pre-health requirements. I have the link there for the pre-health requirements. They're all listed on there for medicine, dental, optometry, all the ones you see listed here. Of course, the most popular one is medicine, and that one has the least amount of requirements as opposed to like dental or veterinary medicine or even physician's assistant and nursing. So go ahead and take a look. If you have further questions, feel free to reach out to us. But again, the link is there. I'm not going to go all over the requirements. They're all listed there. So here's the big question. Everybody had a question about this, and we've been answering this for the last month or since the schools. And just so you know, every school in the United States has decided to default to Pass Not Pass. There have been several webinars that Joe and I have attended that are put on by the deans of admissions of not just medical schools, but dental schools. They all understand what is going on with everyone and the stress that you're feeling and that everybody's feeling. They're willing to be flexible during this semester and probably summer, because ordinarily most of these professional schools do not accept online courses. Yours are not online, they're distant learning. It's a little bit different there. I think the message has been, that they're, again, willing to work with the students. Do they prefer you to take your prereqs for a grade? Yes, they do, but they understand if you don't. There's some information. Again, there's a link on our website that talks about a lot of the information that's out there. All the deans in California, from medical school at least, including Kaiser, Loma Linda, USC, and Stanford, and the UCs have come together and said that they will accept Pass Not Pass grades. They're being, again, very flexible and understanding. Osteopathic schools have added a question in their primary asking if COVID-19 has affected you or your studies in any way. And I think many allopathic schools are also including in their secondary. I know that there are 2 so far that have done so or will do so. And how has it affected you? There are many students that I've talked to that have had to go home to take care of family members, to take care of younger siblings because their parents are essential workers. So it's important to keep that in mind, that if you have to take courses Pass Not Pass, it's okay to do so. I have something here that says that, we want to explicitly say that we don't want you to feel pressure to take a graded option. I think what happens though, and what I've seen with students, is when they decide to take all their science grades Pass Not Pass and all their other courses for a grade, that's a little bit funky and raises a red flag. And my recommendation is to take courses pass, not pass. Take them all pass, not pass, or just take those courses that are not your prereq requirements, pass, not pass, and then your prereqs for a grade. If you feel that the prereq is not the grade that you want, that you could have achieved had you had an in-person course, then it's okay to take it pass, not pass. And I know there will be questions.
We do have one. So
Yes.
the question is, what if only one prereq should be pass, no pass?
So that's an issue. I've had students, for example, that are taking Chem 3A and Physics 8A, and they want to take Physics for a grade, but Chem pass, not pass. I would not suggest that. That to me, if I were reviewing your application, would raise more of a red flag than if you took both of them pass, not pass, or both of them for a grade.
All right, we have a couple more. So
Sure.
the question is, regarding pass, no pass, I've heard some students say that while taking a mix of pass, not pass is not advised, it is better to do what is best for your GPA. How is GPA impacted in the long term, considering harder upper division courses?
So the GPA for example, for dental and medical school is important. I'm not going to say it's not important, but is that one semester going to make a real huge difference for you? Think about that. It does, taking pass, not pass does impact it in the sense that you don't get those grades. Your science, if you're taking all science courses and you were hoping to boost your science GPA, may be impacted there too. And you know, if you're a senior and you were hoping to come out strong, I mean, it's really your decision to choose all pass, not pass, or all graded. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question. If you can repeat it, Samantha, again, please.
Yeah, sure. The question was, how is GPA impacted in the long term, considering harder upper division courses?
So in the long term, it depends on where you are in your coursework. And again, I think schools are going to focus more, and I know that UC Berkeley's graduate division has said this, and many other schools have said this as well. They're going to look what you did prior to spring 2020 and after. So fall and spring of next year, they're going to look at those courses. How it impacts the upper division, I'm not exactly sure I understand that question, other than the fact that you want to, if it's a prereq, like if you have to take Bio 1A in order to take a course in upper division, whether you take it pass, not pass, I think if you take it at Berkeley, I think it would be okay and acceptable. Understanding the material in order for you to do well in an upper division course is important. So how well do you feel about the course and the material that you've learned? But I don't think taking it pass, not pass is going to impact an upper division course. And again, if you're taking an upper division course at Cal, everybody, you know, they're defaulting everybody to a pass, not pass.
Awesome. There are a couple more questions.
Sure.
We'll try to do as many as we can, but
yeah,
we have to answer these offline too for some folks. But here's a frequent one. Would we have to justify our choice to choose pass, no pass, since there will be people who will still choose graded options?
With medical schools or dental schools, probably not for this semester. Again, this semester, everybody across the country has a pass, not pass. There are some schools, some colleges and universities that are not giving students an option to be graded. They're just defaulting everybody. There are a few schools like Berkeley that have an option. So again, you don't have to justify it when it comes to applying to medical school for this particular semester. And I'm assuming also for summer, because most schools are either not having a summer program or they're having a summer semester that's online.
Awesome. And would you be able to speak a little bit about summer and if schools will be allowing summer online prereqs since labs will be online?
My understanding from the courses in the summer is that there will be no labs online. that if you, for example, sign up for Bio 1A, you will not have Bio 1AL until fall or spring of next year. That's something you'd have to check with LNS, but that's my understanding of that. I am, again, they haven't come out and said anything about summer, but given the fact that the majority of schools are not going to go back to their campuses during the summer, they're going to have to be flexible for spring and summer. Again, all these messages that have been put out by the schools were done probably towards the end of March, beginning of April. One thing that I like to remind students is that many of the people, especially in medicine, a lot of the folks that work in the medical field, this is not top priority for them right now. The priority for them is to be working with patients or dealing, they're on the front lines. So this has really taken a back seat to a lot of things on their plate. And so they may not have addressed summer yet. I think that eventually in the next couple of weeks they will.
Awesome. And then we'll do one more. What if only one major requirement course that's not a prereq is the only class pass no pass? Would that be okay?
Well, that I can imagine would be okay, but you'd have to check with your major just to double check, because I mean, you do have a choice, but I know that faculty are encouraging, and a lot of advisors are encouraging students to take things pass not pass or classes pass not pass. So I would check with your major advisor or your academic advisor to double check that would.
Awesome. So we'll go ahead and move to the next slide, and we'll try to answer some of these questions in the chat.
Sure. So again, summer opportunities. So many internships, shadowing, research, they have been canceled. And I was speaking to a couple people that are out there working in the medical field that they don't think that at least students, undergraduate students, will be able to come back and volunteer at hospitals or clinics in the fall either, just because there's still a lot of uncertainty. They want to protect you. They want to protect students. They want to protect volunteers. So think about taking a summer course instead. If you hadn't planned on taking one, maybe think about that. Think about studying for the MCAT or the DAT or the GRE. There are some volunteer opportunities out there, mostly, like I say, here in food banks, food distribution centers, and schools. One thing that I caution is that you have to maintain your safety, the safety of your family. So if you're living with somebody that is has vulnerabilities, that they have an immunocompromised system, grandparents, if you're part of an extended family, you may want to really think about whether you want to put yourself out there. There are students volunteering though, and I do have a list in the next slide as to some of those opportunities, and they're on our website as well. So there are some virtual opportunities, tutoring children. I mean, there are a lot of students right now that are taking, everybody's really taking online courses. So the Paper Airplanes organization is taking volunteers. There are a lot of other volunteer opportunities. There are some internships where I have heard some students are doing some research projects virtually as well. So, you know, they've been pretty lucky to find some of those opportunities, but, you know, just start looking, try and put yourself on listservs. Our career mail, if we have those opportunities, we'll be posting them. If you're an MCB major, sign up for their newsletter. A lot of students find out information through the newsletter and find out about jobs through there. So you just have to keep your eyes open for that. And you know, just work on your studies if you have the time and you can't volunteer. There are some clubs on campus that are going to continue in fall. Get involved in some of those to gain some leadership activities as well. So under ordinary circumstances, you would begin really looking for some of those summer opportunities the year before in October, November. We, again, post a lot of those. Like I say here, sign up for the different department newsletters, EOP always, I know, blasts out opportunities like that. BSP, the Public Health Department, MCB, even the research.berkeley.edu, they're a really good resource. They have a listserv. I encourage students to use their peer advisors just to meet with their peer advisor and how to compose a letter if you want to cold email a professor for some research opportunity. They also have workshops for URAP. They have a lot of other information on research opportunities throughout the different campuses. I know the SURF, and there are a couple other opportunities that they put up there, and just kind of get plugged into some of those different services on campus. And here's going back there, under clinical experiences, there's a sheet where we have a list of all the different clubs on campus, like KDSAP, the blood pressure clinic, CHO is listed on there, Children's Hospital Oakland, both for clinical aspect and research aspects. So we have a lot of opportunities listed, and that's on our website, and I've put the link there. So one of the things you have to prepare if you're getting your research, either applying for a research position or a clinical position or any other type of position really, is you want to find our resources for resumes. We have a couple resources that exist on our website. There's a really good, some samples. You're not going to find the exact thing that you want under the samples for cover letters and resumes, but it'll give you a structure, a format to go by. It'll, most resumes, or your resumes when you're an undergraduate, should be 1 page, and that a lot of those formats that are listed on there on those samples will give you an idea of how to format your resume into a 1-page document. There also, there's a really good action verb list. So as you know, resume together, you can indicate, you have to indicate all your bullets with an action verb, or that's how you start. And there's a really good list of those. There's some YouTube videos. And then during the year, we have peer advisors that you can have drop-in hours with peer advisors from 12 to 4 to review your resume and your cover letter if you so choose.
Irma, there was a question from the previous slide. Do you know if there are research opportunities for undocumented students?
I wouldn't know that right away. I mean, I've had some undocumented students apply for research positions in different capacities on campus and away from campus, and I'm not exactly sure how they secured those positions or what they had to present in order to get them. I haven't asked them. So I would say that some of them are available. They're probably on campus. So subscribing to Career Mail, again, this is a good way to get information about some of the, not just our services, but some of the things that are going on at the Career Center in regards to resume writing workshops or pre-health workshops where we have, I think in February, we had a physician's assistant panel. We had some admissions directors coming from different programs, and we had current students. It was really informative, and so that's how you find out things is through Career Mail, and also job opportunities, internship opportunities, research opportunities. So the MCAT, another question was, when do I take the MCAT? The answer is when you are ready. That's for any standardized exam. You have to be ready. So if you're going to apply to medical school, for example, dental school, you would want to take the exam before you apply, before you submit your application. and you want to have your score before you submit your application. Do you have to wait for your score to submit? No, you don't, but it's really highly recommended. You don't want to apply and then get your score and have to, sometimes you're able to retract your application, but not always, so you don't want to move it forward with the score that you have. So it's always best to have that done beforehand. So usually the MCAT gives the MCAT is given certain times of the year. And they don't give it in February, October, November, December, but other months they do. And most of those dates open almost a year in advance. So the first group of exams is given in January. The dates open in October. So mid-October, they'll open up and you can sign up for an exam for January in October, and also for March and April, you would want to sign up in October. So that's a real important date. So again, for MCAT and other exams, taking about 400 hours of study and preparation, taking practice exams, and that's part of the 400 hours. Making sure that you give yourself enough time and enough preparation in order to do your best, because it's an exam you don't want to have to take twice. Before you take the MCAT, at least the MCAT, biochem, it's important to have all your prereqs met. Biochem is big on the MCAT, so I suggest taking it, and taking it concurrently while you're taking an MCAT prep course is not always suggested. What I tell students too is to read articles in the New York Times, The Economist, The New Yorker, in order to familiarize yourself with the way the language of many of the standardized exams out there. So especially with the MCAT, it's a big reading exam, and it is written in a very funny way, and a way that we don't normally speak. And I think reading articles, in particular articles that you don't enjoy reading, is a good exercise for your brain, to train your brain to read things that you're not excited about all the time. I had a student last year that got stuck on a poetry. It was something about a poet, a passage about a poet, and he got stuck on it and he couldn't move from that. So he lost time on the exam, didn't do as well as he thought he could do. So again, just training your brain, reading a lot, reading material that's unfamiliar to you, that you don't want to, that you really don't enjoy. So another thing is that some of these standardized exams do have expiration dates. For the MCAT, it's 3 years. So it's 3 years to matriculation, and that varies from school to school. So knowing when to take the exam is important, as knowing when you want to apply will determine when you want to take the exam too. And again, you don't need to take an exam prior to the application being submitted, but it is recommended.
We had another question come in.
Sure.
Should you have your score a year before you apply, or how does the timeline normally work?
Okay. So most medical school, dental school, some PA school, and I think it's on the next slide. There it is. So they all take a year in order to apply to a professional program, meaning that students applying this summer will enter medical dental school next summer. So usually it's a April, May, or June submission. So you should have your score before you submit your application. So for medical school, the submission is usually beginning of June. You will have wanted to take your exam either January, March, April of that year, and have your score ready to go. You can take it the summer before that and have it ready to go. You don't want to wait to take the exam in June or July, because medical schools and dental schools are rolling admission. So the sooner you get your application in, the better it is for you. The applications open in May or June, and for PA programs, they open in April. But all the schools have different deadlines. So most of the UC schools from medical school, their deadline is October, but you don't want to wait until October to submit. You want to submit early because by October, they're already giving interviews, and by November and December, they're making acceptances. So you don't want to, the process is a lengthy process, and it requires a lot of patience because you submit your application in June, and there's a whole process. And I think if you really want to know what that process is, you should meet with Joe or myself, because it's very overwhelming for me to sit here and explain it to you. There's a lot of information, and for everybody, it's a little bit different. And one thing that I do want to say for transfer students always come to me and they always say, oh, William, my scores from my community college don't count, or my grades or my activities. They do count. When you submit your application, you will submit all your grades from the time you were a freshman to the time you graduate from Berkeley. And then if you take any classes thereafter, you will submit them. All your activities that you did or jobs that you had when you were in junior college, those also go into your application, and they're just as important. So don't let anybody tell you that all that didn't matter, because it does matter.
We had another question. How much does it cost for the MCAT, and are there waivers available?
Yes, there are waivers available. I'm not exactly sure right now what the price is. I want to say the MCAT is one price, and then applying to medical school is another. There is the fee waiver application. It's called FAP, the Fee Application Program, I believe it is. If you are interested in the FAP and applying for FAP, what it covers is your MCAT exam, and it also provides you with free learning tools. So you will have access to some practice exams and some materials that are online in order to study for the MCAT. And the dental program also has something very similar. And then when you apply to medical school, it will give you, because every application to medical school, you apply to about 30 schools, 25 to 30, and each school there's a cost. So the FAP will cover up to 14 schools, and anything thereafter, you have to pay for it. And then for medical school, there's secondary applications, and those cost as well, but the FAP covers those. What it doesn't cover is your travel to schools. Most schools like you to come in and interview there with them. So if you're applying to the University of Michigan, for example, you would have to fly out to Michigan on your own dime. And usually they house you with a student, but sometimes they don't. So maybe a hotel and transportation to and from. How interviews are going to proceed in the future, I'm not sure. I think this next fall, a lot of interviews are going to be done via Zoom. And I think that's going to set a precedent. So maybe down the line, when some of the freshmen here or sophomores apply to medical school, you won't have to travel. That saves a lot of money for students. It's expensive to apply to medical school, even with the FAP. And if you are interested in obtaining a FAP, you have to submit it at least 3 months prior to you taking the exam. So for instance, if the exam date opens in October, signing up for the FAP maybe a couple months prior to that. So when you do sign up for the exam, you have the FAP already in place, and it's good for 1 year. And then if you need to apply for it a second time, you can do so as well.
Awesome. We'll do one more question before we go into the next slide. There's some questions about the community college courses. So would it be okay to take a prerequisite like physics at a community college? Or this is kind of a combination with someone else's question, if you took community college courses from high school?
If you took community colleges from high school, you will, they will factor into your undergraduate GPA, just like if you had taken them between freshman and sophomore year. You will report those grades to the AMCAS when you apply to medical school, and they will be counted. And most students have done very well in their junior college courses when they're in high school. The other question was taking prereqs. So I would say no to the prereqs that are physics, especially chemistry at Berkeley, because we have a really odd sequence for medical school, not for dental school, but for medical school. And then bio, taking bio 1A and 1B at Berkeley is best. If you started at Berkeley, if you came in as a freshman, if you wanted to take English, math, stats, psych, soc, any other course at a community college, then go ahead and do that.
Awesome. I see a question about post-bac, but we're going to get to that in a second.
Mm-hmm. So another question everybody had were gap years. So we find that more and more medical school and dental schools want students to have a little life experience before they apply to medical school. The average age at UCSF for medical students is about 25, 26 years old. So students do take that time to do a variety of things. Everybody comes in and asks, well, what should I do in my gap year? What does everybody else do? Everybody's different, and you have to do things that you enjoy. So don't take a job or have an experience that you think will look good on an application. You want to make sure that you gain something from it, that you learn from it, that it's something you really like. I mean, I have had students substitute teach during the year they're applying. I've had students who are health coaches, students who have worked at nonprofits doing something completely different. Some students have done biotech stuff. Some do research, some do a combination of things. So, traveling, some people travel, some people combine travel with their service, either doing research, or the Peace Corps is a popular one. In the past, students have taken on research positions, Teach for America, AmeriCorps. Another thing that students always want to know is about master's programs. So with master's programs, what I tell students, apply to a master's program if it's something you really want to do. Don't do it because it's going to get you into medical school. So for medical school, when you apply to medical school, for example, and for dental school, they will base your admittance on your undergraduate GPA and all the other things that go with it, like your activities and your jobs and your letters of recommendation and whatnot. Your master's coursework is determined separately. And so students sometimes feel if I go into a master's program, it'll boost my GPA, but it doesn't really. So really being careful about what type of master's program and what they promise you in the master's program, because a lot of programs out there will promise to get you into medical school, but you have to read the fine print and do it because you want to do it. If it's a public administration master's that you want, then by all means, go for it. If it's a master's in biology, or some people even go for a PhD. So that's gap years. Post-bac programs. There were a lot of questions about post-bac programs. So a little bit about me, which I didn't say, is that I worked for the UCSF post-bac program for about 7 years before doing other things in medical education. And this is something we always tell students. Your goal is not to do a post-bac program. Your goal should not be to do a post-bac program, especially if you're a freshman, sophomore, maybe even a junior. I mean, if you're a senior and your grades are not up to par, maybe a post-bac program is not a bad thing. Or you're a senior who majored in economics and never took any science courses. Maybe it's not a bad thing. They're costly, and usually there's no financial aid available for them. So you have to really, it's mostly based on loans, or you're working and you're taking courses. It's really something you don't want to have to do. And there are different programs. So there's career changer programs, so there's academic enhancement programs. So in a career changer program, you are basically, it's usually folks that graduated from college and, for example, went into teaching and never took biology or chemistry. They'll go back and spend 2 years taking those basic undergraduate requirements, the biology, the physics, the chemistry. The academic enhancement programs, those are a little bit different in where they have you take upper division science courses. As far as retaking courses, we usually don't recommend students to retake courses if they've had a C or above. If you have a C minus in a prereq, maybe, depending on when you got the C minus. If you have a D plus or below, you definitely want to retake the course. Do you have to retake it at Berkeley? It's preferable if you do, but if you're already a senior and you haven't, it's okay to take it elsewhere. So there is the UC Postbac Consortium. That includes Irvine, it includes UCSF and Davis. UCLA is also included, but that's only for students who have applied to medical school prior and were unsuccessful. For that program, you have to be a California resident and come from a disadvantaged background. And disadvantaged background can mean a lot of things, so you would have to look up the description on their websites. The application is one application, and you can apply to all 3 programs with one application, and it's free. And it opens in January, usually closes in March. Those programs try to get students financial aid because they are mostly for disadvantaged students. So they try to look for ways to get you some grants or some funding. But a lot of it, a good chunk of it is loans as well. They do offer MCAT prep, which is nice. And it's free to the students that join. So each program is a little different, but they're very similar. I'm familiar with the UCSF program. The UCSF program has an MCAT prep in the summer as soon as you join, and then you do 1 year of upper division science courses. I think Irvine does the courses first and then the MCAT afterward, towards the end of the program. And then you spend 1 year with them taking courses, and then the second year you spend with the program applying to medical school and getting the advice, the academic advice, and the advice as far as applying the application process. UC Berkeley Extension also has a formal program for postbac and courses. So anybody can take a course at UC Berkeley Extension. You can take a course, say for instance, immunology. You can go in there and take immunology. The nice thing about the UC Berkeley extensions, they are expensive, but they do have courses that are offered in the evening or on the weekends, so it allows for you to work. There are some CSU programs, Cal State East Bay that's local, San Francisco State, they offer postbac programs. Again, it's mostly loan-based. And then there are master's programs, like I said prior, master's programs, you want to ask questions, you want to ask a lot of questions and read the fine print when it comes to them offering you a master's that is sort of a postbac program.
Are you able to explain the difference between what the UC postbac and the extension programs are?
So the UC postbac program, again, it's an application process. You have to apply. You have to be a California resident and from a disadvantaged background. Again, it could be socioeconomic disadvantage, educational disadvantage, medically disadvantaged. And those programs have the MCAT prep, have the advising for students, and most of them will also have workshops on like time management, what goes into your application, they might offer a stipend or some form of financial assistance. The UC Berkeley Extension program is pretty much, you have to pay for it. They don't offer MCAT prep. If you do the formal program, you would have to apply to the program. If you do it informally, you don't have to apply to any program. If I didn't answer the question the way you wanted, let me know. So students asked about other health careers. So there's a great website called explorehealthcareers.org. And certainly there are a lot of careers out there that are not medical school or dental school or even PA school. There's nursing, nurse practitioner, genetics counseling, public health, speech pathology, occupational therapy. They all have different requirements. They all have, they're all over the place, different schools, different application process. Most of them, you have to take the GRE, but not all of them. Some of them, for example, the Masters in Nursing, there are some Masters in Nursing programs for those that haven't had any nursing or any health coursework prior to nursing. You have to have some science, but you don't necessarily have to have been a nurse in order to get a Master's in Nursing. There's pharmacy. There are a lot of pharmacy programs. The pharmacy schools, the majority of them in California, if not all in California, you don't have to take the PCAT exam. So they're open to all the students. They, similar to medicine, they do want you to have some type of activities that reflect that you've explored pharmacy. So there are a lot of different health professions out there. I mean, there's physical therapy, which is another popular one that students attend. For a lot of them, like physical therapy, some nurse practitioner and physician's assistance programs, you do need patient care, and they do ask for you to submit and verify that you've had like between 1,500 to 3,000 hours of patient care. Veterinary medicine, for example, if you're applying to vet school, you would need at least 300 hours, and you need to have somebody verify that. There are ways of doing that. So those programs do require a specific amount of hours, whereas medicine and dentistry do not. Pharmacy doesn't either.
Awesome. So we have about 3 minutes left, so we'll get through this last slide, and then I'll open it up for more questions.
Okay, so one thing I tell everybody, keep up the GPA as much as possible. And, you know, I think that with students, that some students get so involved in some activities that sometimes they let their schoolwork kind of fall by the wayside. But, you know, learn to recognize that and dial back on it if you have to. It doesn't mean giving it up. It doesn't mean that you have to give up that activity. It's just dialing back for a while and knowing and recognizing the priorities. I mean, in Berkeley, there are a lot of rumors around. If you hear information or you think is misinformation, check with me, check with Joe, check with Samantha, check with some advisor. One thing I always hear is like, I have to be published in order to get into medicine. No, you don't. There are many students in medical school that have never had a publication. And another thing is there's no formula for getting into medical school or any professional school. It's a very holistic review. You don't have to have a 4.0. You don't have to have a 527 on the MCAT. You do have to do well. Those grades in MCAT are important, but they're not the only thing that is factored into your admittance to a professional program. And give yourself time. You know, medical school, dental school, professional school will be there when you're ready. And the most important thing is to be ready. Give yourself time, make an appointment with advisors, shadow people, get mentorship from different organizations. There's one organization I forgot to list on there. It's mimentor.org, mimentor.org. It's an online platform, and it's, you know, if you're on Instagram, Facebook, they're on there. They have these wonderful workshops, and they have a lot of mentorship and a lot of workshops that are very useful. It's free. There are some wonderful people that run that organization, and I would encourage everybody to just give it a look.
Awesome. And one question that popped up was, what's a good GPA range to have?
Again, there's no formula. So it depends on you. It depends on your activities. It depends on the MCAT. It depends on your trajectory. The road travel, that's important. You know, how far have you come? Have there been obstacles, and how did you overcome those obstacles? That's more important, how you overcame certain things rather than the obstacles that you faced. So depending on when you got the bad grade, depending on when you got the good grade, and it's not a formula, and everybody's different.
Awesome. Can you repeat the name of the program that you mentioned? I could type it in.
Sure, it's Mi Mentor, MIMENTOR.org.
Awesome. And then another question that's coming up is what advice?
It's MI, I'm sorry, it's MIMentor.org.
I think it auto-corrected.
Oh.
What advice is there for transfers that didn't do that great in their prereqs for med school and want to make up for it in these next 2 years at Cal, GPA-wise, they said in parentheses?
So GPA-wise, it's important to have an upward trend. So you didn't do too well, and then junior and senior year, you're gonna do really good to try to bring that GPA up. Again, it depends on what courses you took and what grades you got. You know, do you have to retake a course? I mean, if you started at JC and you took a course at a JC and you didn't do well, you could go to JC and redo the course there. But again, if it's a C, C+, I wouldn't recommend it because you have to report the C+, and then you have to report the B+ that you get in the second time you take it, and it averages out to, I don't know, a B- or something. Is it worth your time? Is it worth your money? So having an upward trend is very important for medical school and for dental school and other professional schools as well.
Awesome. And the next question that we have is, what if we started off with a bad GPA our freshman year? Do medical schools look at our progress or improvement, or is our GPA number the most important?
They do look at improvement. Again, it's the upward trend. So, you know, one thing I've heard that some admissions folks say is that they're not admitting to medical school the 17 or 18-year-old that you were. They're admitting the 25-year-old that has more life experience and some maturity under their belt. So being a freshman can be hard, especially a place like Berkeley, where you educationally disadvantaged when you came into Berkeley. That you went to a high school that didn't offer AP courses or didn't offer the courses or prepare you how to study for a course at Berkeley. Were there other things going on? Were you homesick? A lot of things happen when you're a freshman. So having a bad freshman year is not unusual for a lot of people, and it's really the upward trend that you need to focus on.
Awesome. And somebody asked, are appointments available now on Handshake to meet with pre-health advisors?
They absolutely are, and we work through the summer as well. So for a lot of freshmen, I know there are a lot of freshmen on the call, you will be able to make those appointments after, I think it's June or maybe after mid-May. I forget when the switch happens. But yeah, we're available during the summer. We're available now. We meet either by Zoom, by phone, or you have the choice to either do a video appointment or to do a phone appointment. If it's video, I usually do mine on Google Hangouts, and Joe does hers on Zoom. So it depends on who you get, or you can do them on the phone.
Awesome. If there are any other questions, please let us know. Ooh, some are popping in. If med schools require 1 year of math, is it okay to pass, no pass my second semester of math?
If it's this semester, yes. And not all med schools require math. The reason we have all those requirements is because there are still a number of schools that require it. There are schools that require stats. There are schools that require English. In California, none of the schools require, the UCs require math. Riverside does require 1 full year of English and psych, but UCLA, UC San Diego, they don't, they just have recommendations. They don't have requirements. And then all the schools are different. So that's why we have the most that we can out there for you all.
Here's another math one. Is it okay to do 1 semester of calc and 1 semester of biostats?
Stats is preferred. Biostats is if it's public health 142, I think that's okay.
Awesome. There's another question, but I think we might have answered it. What are your thoughts about the pass, no pass grade option? Should pre-med students consider it?
Yeah, this is your semester. It depends on how you feel about the classes that you're in and the stressors that you're feeling. I mean, if you feel really stressed about having to to do well in a class and online learning is not for you, then by all means, this is the time that you can take advantage of the Pass Not Pass.
And how does one calculate GPA for community college and UC Berkeley?
So for the dental programs and medical programs, you will submit all your grades, and that the AA and C, for instance, for medical school, the AMCAS will determine your overall GPA and your science GPA. There are some GPA calculators out there that you can play around with, inserting all your coursework from both community college and from Berkeley. Are they 100% accurate? No, but they're close. So if you Google AAMC GPA calculator, you'll get quite a few of them. It's a little bit tedious to do, but if you're curious about it, go for it.
And then we'll ask one final question before we wrap it up. For statistics, would Stats 2 or Stats 20 be better for pre-med?
Probably 2. We recommend 2.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much on the behalf of EOP STEM and our students. Thank you so much, Irma, for taking
You're welcome.
time. This was so informative. Again, this whole workshop will be recorded and sent out. We ask that to help us improve for the future, please complete our survey, and please reach out to either myself, Irma, or Joe at the Career Center if you have any other questions regarding pre-med, pre-health, anything. But we are here to support you and hope these have answered your questions, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you all for having me.
Yes, you were so helpful. Thanks, Irma. Bye.
Bye-bye.